I used to think that I didn't work hard, but looking back at it, I was actually working a lot, working really long hours. Knowing what to do with money is a skill that I needed to learn.
Even though you were valuable, you were doing well, but that in itself is not enough to build wealth.
I had no idea what to do with money. I never realised that that was a skill. Some people will be wanting to do something, knowing they need to do something with the money and not know what to do with it.
Hello, and welcome to the Self-Unemployed Podcast, where we talk about the journey to financial independence and becoming self-unemployed. Today, I'm joined by a very special guest, Mr. Robert Metcalf. Hello.
Hi, good to be here. So this is the first podcast I've ever been on. I've got a YouTube channel and I've done some videos on that, so hopefully that will give me a little bit of practice. Sorry for all the mistakes in advance.
So Robert is currently a property developer, but he's got a former career, quite successful career in IT. And the reason I was so keen to have him on the show is because it really his story really ties in well with the self-unemployed philosophy about how you can build wealth even on a regular salary, but then also I think you also got sort of stuck in the stuck in the rut and in the rat race. We get to talk about that. And now that you're a property developer, you're bringing your skills from IT into that area, and you're developing an app for sourcing properties.
Yeah, so let's say aspiring property developer. I'm still on the course. I'm still making progress doing it. It's my focus in the last year is they say don't call it a property journey. I do call it a property journey because I am at the steep end of the learning curve on the property side, which is very different to me because from my software side, I got past the steep end of that learning curve when I was 10. I've been at the flat bit. I've never really been challenged in that. So it's a great experience actually for me to challenge myself.
Challenge myself. Get uncomfortable again.
Yeah, get uncomfortable and to develop as well. Because I was good at tech. Now, I used to think that I didn't work hard. I used to think that I'm just being very lucky and going into job to job, getting paid quite well due to luck and not work. But looking back at it, I was actually working a lot, working really long hours. But I absolutely loved it, and I love software. When I wasn't employed by someone to make a particular piece of software, I was going home and making writing code, making apps, learning new technologies, constantly learning new technologies, and that gave me a real competitive edge against everyone else. Because if you go to work and it's a job and you want to learn, well, I was going home and learning and going to work and learning, and none of my jobs really could challenge me or push my skill set. I remember A-level computer science. I made a program because I've gone back a bit. My dad ran a company and he went to night school, learnt basic and wrote an accounts and a client software. So what we now call kind of a CRM software, he wrote for his company. And then when I thought A-level, I want to do that. So at my A-level computer science, I had a project, and I was criticised by the teachers for spending a lot of time making my software work. Because I said, no, you don't want to make it work. You've got enough code there to impress the examiner. You've got to write the report about it. I said, it doesn't matter. The invoices aren't coming out. They're coming out zero. You can't run a business and invoice with zero. But for them, I kind of knew more than them because I was just, it was fun. It wasn't work. I was just really enthusiastic, and I never had to motivate myself, and I still don't. If I don't do some coding, if I don't build something for a week, then I have to do it. I have that kind of urge builds up, and I was incredibly lucky throughout my career that the skill, my one love, was something that they pay you good money for. There was a little bit of a double-edged sword though, because on the one side is I was getting promotion, I was getting a job. I never had to try, and or at least it was just natural. I never had to force myself to do something I didn't want to do. few occasions I do remember getting having difficulty early in my career when I realised I was at the point where I had to present to people and I stand up in front of someone. Very quickly, I learned if I know what I'm talking about, I can present it. But you know, there's a few. It wasn't like complete plain sailing. There's stuff that you learn. But because I was so enthusiastic about technology and computers, I was always learning, and businesses never really use the latest technology because you know it's bleeding edge. So I was always trying to use the latest technology, which meant when I used to go to job interviews. Now jobs find me rather than the other way around. But you know, I remember one job interview which I was kind of nervous going to, and the CTO of the company told me to stop. He went outside the office, got 10 developers to come in to listen to me because I was describing an architecture on a project that I was doing. And there was two reasons. One, he was impressed with like what I was doing. And the second thing is because I wanted to design in a similar way that he wanted to design it. So he wanted to like help himself in the argument. So he kind of invited people in. But for me, I think it's kind of it's luck that you know what I love really helped me. But as I said, it's a double-edged sword because I've been on that part of the learning curve, the flat bit, for many years. There was nothing pushing or driving me to get out of my comfort zone. Every time I thought, well, you know, I kind of maybe I could work here and I get a bit more money. It's like frequently you're offered when you're good at your job, you're offered more money not to leave. So every time you get another job, it's quite hard to resign because you put your money in and they say, well, what they're paying you, we'll match it and give you more. And so,
well, this is the problem with a job. They'll pay you as little as possible to make you not leave.
Yeah, and you're exactly right because I did spend a lot of my career not earning as much as I could have, and also not. It's only the last few years when I started looking at property. I started looking at started looking at a lot of financial freedom stuff, and there's a whole new world to learn. For me, the first step was learning about crypto because I wasn't very big on investment. I thought stock market, you know, these are very clever people. They're always going to take money off you. That's how investment works. Every time you hear it, they lose money. But I kind of got into crypto because of the technology. I learned a lot about Ethereum and the fact that it's a virtual machine, a bit like if you're going to take, there's something called the Java virtual machine. We write bytecode runs in Java. But with Ethereum, they have what's called an EVM, Ethereum virtual machine, which is like a computer. You can write code for it. It's the contracts. They are code and they're executed by this global computer system. And I thought, that is a neat design. And then I started looking a lot into crypto and I thought, well, I need to learn it. I need to buy some. So I bought a tiny amount of crypto. I didn't get into it like lots of people do, not like investment. I got into it because I wanted to learn it. You know, I wanted to have my hardware wallet. I wanted to I actually wrote a contract. I only did it in the dev environment. I never kind of put it onto a proper system. But, you know, I know how to make my own tokens and keys. That was just for fun. You know, that was So I got into that, but then I started listening to a lot of YouTube about crypto and a lot of then about economics. And I didn't understand. And slowly I started learning about economics, about what money really is, rather than something which was just hitting my bank account and just staying there. Because that's the only thing I was doing with my money. And then realizing and measuring my success by money, measuring my financial security by money, and then realizing actually that's not financial security.
No.
And I think there are some, I don't know if they're societal lies or common misconceptions which we're taught into school, but you must get a job, you must earn. And there's this basic idea of generating value. It's like, well, you can't generate value. You've got to go for work for somebody else who's going to tell you what to do to generate value. I guess for me, it worked because, you know, I didn't do the business side. I did just the programming side and the coding and the architecture, and then getting bigger to manage teams and the management side. But actually starting a business and making money, and it's all about generating value, and then that money is value. And so that's where I've been going the last probably about 3 years now. Properties have been the last year and a half, 2 years, it's kind of property. But before that, I guess during lockdown, I started working I moved jobs more often, and I got experiences where after lockdown I didn't want to go back into the office. I wanted to stay at home because I valued my time, and that was the first time when I thought, you know what, I could take a pay cut and just not have to go into the office, and it's totally worth it because what can I do with that extra time that I've got? In the end, I didn't have to take a pay cut because someone found me my profile on Facebook and I got a different job. But that's my lead up to getting into the financial freedom and financial freedom side.
Yeah, it's really interesting, your story as well, because I think it's probably quite typical of people who are, well, you know, in your case, you were earning quite good money in your job, and you know, you sort of, like I said, you got stuck into that rat race, and you were but you were still kind of dependent on someone else to give you work, to give you money, even though you were valuable, you were doing well. so that in itself is not enough to build wealth. Even if you're earning a lot of money, if you know every month, every week, or whatever, you get your money, if you spend it all, you're not building wealth, and you don't need to be earning a lot of money,
even if you don't spend it, because you know, and this is something which really shocked me. I had no idea what to do with money. You can always think that you earn money, you get money, but then what do you do? And I never realized that, you know, that was a skill, and it is actually a skill, just like anything else. So I wasn't spending the money that I was earning. I'm kind of a frugal kind of person. I want value when I buy something. The only real thing I really spend money on is ski holidays. That's my pleasure, is going skiing.
Yeah, fair enough.
And they are more expensive holidays, but I definitely do, because I get value from the fitness side, and from I enjoy that. But generally, buying things, I almost hate owning things. I like the ability to get one bag and go on holiday, you know, travel somewhere. I like that, and owning lots of stuff. So for me, it wasn't spending money, but the fact that knowing what to do with money is a skill, and two, and this was probably a year and a half into my journey when I first joined the Samuel Leeds Academy, was my friends coming to me with money saying, Robert, when you get property, I want to invest with you. You know, I want, and realizing that actually investment is a skill, and there's lots of people like me who don't know what to do. It's kind of, you've got to trust. You know, you can't. You know, none of us are going to just find a racehorse and put the money. Or I guess some of us are, but they don't have the money anymore. But some people will be wanting to do something, knowing they need to do something with the money, and not know what to do with it. And that was one of the realizations late in my life, which kind of blew my mind. One is, this is a skill that I needed to learn. And I started with the crypto. I kind of became aware of it, and then in the property, and then realizing other people have this problem too. And investing money and, you know, capital allocation, I think, in an economical kind of term, is a skill. It's hard to do. And I thought I'd better get my act together and learn this, because there's consequences for me and my family if I don't, and then I can help other people as well.
Yeah. So as you know, we've got these 4 phases of wealth here at the Self-Unemployed Podcast. So the first phase is to sort of stop money working against you if you've got credit card debts and things like that. And the second phase is just sort of starting to get money working for you, and that's sort of thinking about things like pensions and ISAs and more simple investments. So when you were earning money, I mean, good. When were you doing any of that sort of thing in phase 2? Because now talking about crypto and property, those are things where you really need to educate yourself in order to do well, because they are more risky. Yeah. That's not to say don't do them. It's just, you know, you need to know what you're doing. So that's what phase 3 is all about. And I think that's where real wealth is built. But you can go through a life and build a decent amount of wealth just in phase 2 by having good practices, regularly investing, using the things like ISAs and pensions. Yeah. And that's because, and phase 3 is not for everyone. Not everyone wants to spend the time, you know, and take on the risk for phase 3. But yeah, so phase 2 is, I think, really, really important. Did you ever do anything like that, or were you just living paycheck to paycheck?
not consciously. So one of my early jobs was working for a local government, Greenwich Council. And actually, I know how local government works or doesn't work. I know kind of, whether I'd rather a private company or a local government would spend my money. And there's only one answer to that. But at the interview, the guy from HR, they do look after the staff and basically said, you've got a local government pension scheme. Do you want in or out? And I thought, well, I don't know. And he just said, you need to. And he told me. So I signed up to that pension scheme. And because in my first 2 or 3 jobs, there was actually really good pensions. I just said, okay. And I just didn't even think that I was earning that money. It's in my head.
No.
Some people look at the pay slip.
Because you don't see it. It gets taken before
you don't see it. It doesn't
hit your paycheck. Yeah.
So I did a little bit of phase 2. But
you see, if you're just talking about doing the automatic stuff, that because every company, everyone who's got a job, it's the law that they set you up with a pension by default. And if you don't want it, you have to opt out. Now, so by law, sort of everyone is doing a little bit automatically. That doesn't count. That doesn't count as doing phase 2. Yeah. That doesn't.
In that case, I've still got some phase 2 work to do,
right?
Because I've got I had so I don't know if you've heard of St James's Place.
I've heard of it. Is that like an investment, like a broker?
Yeah, a big investment, a bit like Hargreaves Lansdowne.
Yeah. I use Hargreaves Lansdowne.
Someone from Facebook found me and said that basically when they take you to Canary Wharf up a tower and you have an interview, and he's kind of given me. They've got very good software where they project your retirement income and how much you need to save in order to get which levels of retirement income. And there's a point on that graph where you retire and your earnings don't come in anymore. Which I think realistically,
your earnings don't need to come in anymore. Yeah. So there's a concept called FIRE. There's a concept called FIRE, which is financial retirement, financial independence, retire early. And that, what you're talking about is what they call a crossover, where you've got your expenses and then the amount of residual income that your nest egg can generate. So as you invest more and more money, that amount will go up, and when it crosses over, then you're financially free.
No. The graph he showed me was when I reach retirement age. I won't have enough money and to spend. I'll have to cut because my retirement income, even from the pensions I had, was quite small. So that was kind of one starting to think about that and actually seeing that. But I do have more phase 2 items to go down. I think with crypto, that's an interesting experience for me because I put in money, it doubled in 6 months. This is just was after COVID, so it's quite recently, and that was great. And I thought I was really happy. And then I watched it go back to half what I put in originally in the next 6 months. And I thought, oh, okay. Well, I only put in a tiny money. It was like play almost. And then now it's gone back and it's up again. And then I realised, it's very hard. So I believe in crypto in the long run. I think I like the economic freedom. I didn't understand the freedom side of crypto when I first started with all the.
You mean in the sense that it's not manipulated by a bank, by a government-controlled bank.
Yes, understanding money and understanding the government can press a button and print money, and they put a lot of ifs and buts around it. Like it's got to be the Bank of England, it's got to be a separate organisation. But at the end of the day, they're the people with the army, so they can print the money when they want to print the money. So what that means is the government can either raise taxes because it needs more money, or it can print more money and effectively take all our wealth without even telling us. And
that's called inflation. And when we get high inflation, they blame other things. When actually, this annoys me so much because inflation is, the value of money, which is the total number of pounds, the total number of units of account. Economists will say, or the total value of the economy divided by the total number of units of account. So if you increase the total number of units of account without increasing the number of or the value of the economy, you get inflation. It's nothing to do with prices. I mean, yes, the result is prices going up, but then to then blame the people that are sort of setting the prices and then to try and control prices is just completely
it doesn't make sense.
wrong. Yeah.
the pizza analogy. Like, it doesn't. You can cut a pizza into 4 slices or 200 slices. It's still the same amount of pizza. And that's in, and so what I didn't understand when I kind of was looking at Bitcoin and Ethereum, that no one can cut the pizza. No one can change the number of units.
There is a system for
Yeah.
introducing new units, but it's completely algorithmic.
And this is
a formula.
As a coder. Why do you trust that system? Because and no one can change it. And the distribution, the blockchain, the fact that there's a 51% attack, the fact there's millions of people with computers all over the world generating Bitcoin, and they all run in the same code, and 51% have to change the code to change it, means that it's very, very difficult. It's very hard to have a conspiracy theory about Bitcoin, about someone printing more Bitcoin or changing the formula or changing the code, because it is open and public, and it's agreed upon by so many separate entities. It's very hard. Now, one of the things people say about Bitcoin is that if we had Bitcoin during COVID, the economy would crash because it was not possible to print money, because what the government did during COVID is they made lots of money. Now, I don't like that idea, because I think people generate wealth. Governments don't generate wealth. Government's the only organisation it's only unit in the economy that can get money without generating value. Like, we all have to generate value for someone. We have to help someone out. We need to be useful enough to someone so they can give us some money. That's how we generate money. So we have to generate wealth. If we don't generate wealth, and that's something where the government can't. And I did not know any of this at all. I was completely oblivious. I just thought money is just the measure, and it's going to be safe in my bank account. But the fact that they are now more and more having to, what they're doing is, rather than have a small recession, they printed some money. And then they put it down the track, and there'll be a medium recession. So, okay, they print some money. And they keep printing money until they're going to have massive recessions. So they're building up for the future. But what's going to happen is printing the money is not going to stop working. Because people are going to stop believing in the money, and that has happened. So a lot of the YouTubers that I listen to, and which I got onto this through my Bitcoin interest, and it made me think I needed to learn that at school. Like, I spent my life thinking I'll put my money away. That's really great, and I need to learn that at school. I think the other thing you should learn at school is tax. Like, all your life, the government will take money from you through tax. And I think I could say it's a moral responsibility for the government to educate you in how that works, because that's going to affect your life for a lot of people more than their job. Like, way more. You spend your entire time at school learning skills to get a job. Well, no, if one of those skills for yourself, for a happy life, to be not even financially free, but to live and to get what you need to survive, and for you and your family, you need to understand tax. But most people, when you get your first pay slip and they see NI and PAYE, they're like, "Why? I thought I was getting paid this much." So,
they just see it as a deduction.
But everyone just laughs. The first time, if the kid came to you, the first pay slip, they would laugh at him. So, "Oh no, everyone's like that. You can't do it." And it's like, well, actually, that is a very important factor of our society. And I don't think all tax is wrong. There are some shared services we are need to, but I think we should be educated. And you think about what you would put on a curriculum at a school, the tax and the tax formula, because the government's got 2 ways of making you do something. One is by getting the police to come round and basically by violence, by taking that. And the second way is they'll make a law and they'll make a rule. And that rule influences you. So if you look at, I think they're talking about capital gains tax. That is trying to change people's behaviour. That's why you would make a law. So we make a law that if your property goes up in value, that we're going to tax it from you. And the big thing, I think it might be America or here, they're going to even start thinking about charging unrealised capital gains, which, if you know what that means.
Yeah, that's one of Kamala's ideas.
Is it in the UK? Okay,
it's a nice idea if you're stupid and don't understand economics.
If you don't understand. But the thing is, I didn't used to understand all this. Yeah, there's no way.
Yeah.
Most
Well,
of my
most people
friends, there's
don't, and
no
this is
way.
why it works. This is why she's doing so well in the polls.
Yeah, yeah,
because
but that's why they're not going
you
to
know,
teach it to us at school. But
yeah.
that's the thing, and
Do you think it's deliberate that they don't teach us finance at school? Because if everyone started using their ISA, maximizing their pension contributions, and learning about tax, then they to save money, then they would generate less money. They would rather you went and bought a season ticket for Manchester United than put another couple of £1,000 in your ISA.
Yeah, I think you say is it deliberate, and use the word they all the time, and there doesn't have to be a they. Right? There's no conscious entity like doing things. It's when we say they, it's like we need to tell ourselves a story all the time. So we need to have some bad days. It's a bit why you've got like big political divide. Like you need an enemy, you need a baddie to hate. So landlords at the moment in the media are the baddie. They're the people to hate, or like for some people, definitely not me. Immigrants, they're the baddie. And it's like in children's tales, there are goodies and there are baddies.
And for children's tales, they have to really simplify it.
Yeah.
But it's the same thing now.
We
get a simplified version.
So we'll say the government or they, and I don't think the government are consciously actually leading or doing much. I think when you do get conscious governments doing things, that's when you get scary governments. I think they're just like doing what they can do to keep in power for as long as they can, doing the minimum, not thinking about the future, not thinking about the economics. I don't think they are like manipulating us with a secret agenda. I don't think there is a they.
Yeah, there's conspiracies about sort of governments being controlled by some kind of secret elite, like the World Monetary Fund, and
but I've heard that, and it's like,
you think that's more subconscious, like that elite doesn't actually exist physically, but it's more the collective subconscious.
I think with the WEF and the big conspiracy, all the billionaires in the world are competing. And have you ever played Monopoly?
Of course.
So if you're winning, you're enjoying that experience of winning. So what you do is you give the money to the other players because you don't want the game to end because you're winning. And I think that's how billionaires. If you think about Steve Jobs and Apple, right? Amazing design, great product, which has changed the world. The fact that our phones, they have made everybody live. So normal people now live like millionaires did 10 years ago or 100 years ago. It's like the technology, the things we've got are communicated. The fact that we're having this conversation, all that wouldn't be possible. And billionaires kind of, if they don't have anyone to buy their products from, it's like when you're playing Monopoly and you're winning and your family says, you know what, I'm going to play football now. It's like, no, have some money, come back and, stay in the game, keep playing it. And so I think, people who do, not be there. And I know there are many, many exceptions to this rule, but I think basically business is win-win. And when you've made profit, what you've done, unless you're a government, if you're a government, you can take money by force, by violence. If you are a normal private citizen, the only way you can get money is by giving value and generating wealth. And this is where we're not in a zero-sum game. No, mobile phones didn't have to exist. A lot of people worked hard to generate. Internet didn't have to exist. All the things that we do in our world, all the from the UK, we have Ryanair. Everyone loves to hate Ryanair. But I went to Crete. I can travel for very, very little money, very, very little, and I can go on and have amazing experiences, which my grandparents probably couldn't dream of. And that's what billionaires are doing. That's why they're billionaires, because they've generated that wealth. And this is something
like Elon Musk is not one of the richest people in the world because he's exploiting people. He's one of the richest people in the world because he's created products that people find valuable. And are willing to hand over their cash.
Yeah, I think we have to think that we're talking in generalities because governments do exist. There is lobbying. There is a lot of
corruption.
I guess unfair
Yeah.
practices, and billionaires are just very, very good at monopoly. They're good at the game. Generating wealth is part of it, and there might be ways that they use governments and they use that setup in order to get what they want. So it's not a completely fair.
No.
It's
Yeah,
not
I
like
see what you
one
mean. It's
side
not.
or the other.
Yeah.
But I think it's very easy because we want to have baddies. To tell a story, you need an arc. You need a character arc. You need a baddie. You need someone for people to hate, which is something that kind of really does scare me about society. But the government, I kind of try not to think of anyone as a baddie, and not the government, the MP. I'm sure MPs try really hard, and some of my friends, if they talk about the blue team, they hate the blue team, and you don't want to mention the blue team around them. And it's like, well, they're very personal about it and personal about their opinions, and I think a lot of the politics stuff that happens in the world is not somebody being evil. I don't think human beings are evil. I don't think any human being comes and says, I'm going to make a load of pensioners freeze this winter. I don't think anybody actually says that. But a lot of people go around the world, they're the baddie. They need a baddie. And I think some people do think that people are trying to kill pensioners. And it's I think people really do think that. And for me, it's like, that I can't see that. That's not something. I don't think anyone, even through neglect, I don't think that in the corridors of power there's no they with a bad. People talk about the WEF and about this plan and the 15-minute cities and it's like, well, I don't think there's individual human beings going around the world like a villain in James Bond. I don't think that's a reality.
No, but maybe the WEF sort of make themselves an easy target for that label of the baddie, which is what conspiracy theory is, I suppose.
Yeah,
labeling.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Well, let's get back to we've sort of gone off on a very interesting tangent or rabbit hole there, but that was good. But let's get back to your story. So, so you were working. You weren't really sort of building wealth apart from in the ways that are done automatically for you through a statutory pension or not statutory pension, but a workplace pension and things like that. You weren't really. Other than that, you were just living off the money you earned. Although you were quite frugal.
I had two big assets: my pension and my property. That I have a small flat, which isn't very big and not worth very much. And I thought, well, I want to move. I want to sell it. So I went to an estate agent and said, you could rent it out, and you don't have to sell it to buy another place. You could buy it. And he was saying these things, and I realised I don't understand about property, and I need to because I'm trying to sell. It's where you live, and it's kind of the next step. And I didn't know anything about it, and I'm a big YouTube watcher. You can probably tell from other parts of the conversation. But Samuel Leeds was on there, and I was going to New Zealand, and I was going to one of my most amazing to this day, it's my most amazing holiday. 3-week experience. We did a road trip. Some good friends who I used to play. Well, I still play football with them most Sundays at Regent's Park. But we went to New Zealand for 3 weeks. But they're very kind of creative people, and they were. I knew in the evenings there wouldn't be much going on in the evenings for 3 weeks. We'd be sat down, and they like to draw, artists creating, writing, keeping diaries. So I thought, well, let's get a book. So Samuel Leeds had this £1 book. So I thought I'd buy that. So I bought that book.
That's your frugal nature coming through.
Sorry?
That's your frugal nature coming through, just choosing the £1.
Yeah, well, no, I actually paid a tenner for it because the £1 thing had finished. So I had to go to Amazon. I bought it from Amazon. I think that was Buy Low, Rent High. So I got that book and I read it. And in the evening I was reading that. And then at one time I went to this secondhand bookstore in New Zealand. And there was 2 other books, which were both about 20 years old. So they were talking about interest rates of 20% in New Zealand, and it was all about converting farmland and title splitting, and it was all the property stuff we were doing, but 20 years ago. And my friends just told me that you're not going to learn anything from reading those books. But I spent the evenings in that holiday like reading those, and that was a kind of starting to get me into the changing my mind, kind of, the fun, something. I've been learning about the crypto and economy a little bit. Something about my main beliefs about jobs and money wasn't too right. So when I got back from New Zealand, I signed up to the £1 crash course, which hopefully you put the affiliate link in your.
It's affiliate link. £1 crash course.
If not, I'm going to give you mine. I went to the £1 crash course, but on that one, I don't think you always get this, but the one I went to, you've got another book in the post, which is another one of Samuel's books.
All right.
So I read that. And people seem to think I know what I'm talking about because I turned up at the crash course.
Can I just interrupt and say, you say you spent £10 on the book Buy Low, Rent High. When I went to the crash course, which cost £1, they gave away that book for free.
Oh yeah.
So it's definitely worth going on a crash course, even if it's just for the free book.
But when I went, they didn't give away that book; they gave away a different book.
No, but I'm talking to the audience. Go on a crash course. It's only £1, and you get a free book worth £10, and you get a day learning about property investing.
Yeah, I think,
and you might think you know about property investing. You might think buy to let and all that. There's so much more to it that will blow your mind. When you go on a crash course. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah, so I got a different book. I don't think he always gives the books away.
Maybe not.
But I got a different one. But outside, I remember some people thought I was a mentor. Like, and they said, "How do you know so much?" I said, "One, I don't know anything, which is why I'm here, because I was trying to sell my flat. The agent was telling me what I should do, and I think he was telling me how he could make money." And I had no idea, so I'm not just going to follow him. So I'm here to learn. But because I'd read the books, people were thinking that I knew what I was talking about, which was interesting. Then I remember the motivational music coming out of the hall, and then you walk into the hall and you have to give everyone a high five. And I thought, what have I got myself in for? This is like a fundamentalist cult church thing, because I remember
it does feel a bit like that if you're not used to it. It can.
Me and this lady, we looked at each other and we were like, "Wow, okay." So we were going to go in now. That crash course experience is very emotional. I think it is like a church. But
yes.
I had a lot of thoughts and ideas that I needed to blown away, and I think Ricky came on first. I think he kind of does, and I think Ricky and Samuel are some of the best teachers that I've ever seen, and they held the room. I think there's 1,000 people in the room, held the attention strongly from about 10 o'clock. I think it was 6 or 7 o'clock with no break. But full attention. No.
I honestly think Samuel is the best public speaker I've ever seen. Honestly, he totally blew me away that day.
Ricky's good. I think Ricky plays second on purpose. I think actually. And Ricky's, I think, is pretty good. But either way, one is they come across well, but two is I think the values that Samuel has, which is I found out about the academy on the £1 crash course because I went to the back. So the bit everyone stampedes to the back. I was like, I don't make decisions like that. Right. But I wandered to the back because I think he said, there's 30 places. On our course, if you go, so everyone stampeded. I thought sort of 500 people stampeded back in the room. So when they'd finished and the dust settled, the contracts was it was messy. I went to the back and talked to some of the people there, and they said, "Oh, we got another place." So, what do you mean? You said there was only 13. I said, well, actually, but what happens? I thought after the crash course, I had massive confidence in somebody leading the organisation. I knew I could tell from the way it was conducted that Samuel's a very genuine person and he cares a lot about the success of his students. That's something that's...
I just want to quickly say thank you so much for watching or listening. If you are watching on YouTube, give us a thumbs up and a subscribe and all that. And subscribe to the podcast, leave us a review. All those things are super useful. But if you like what you're hearing and you'd like to become self-unemployed yourself, then I'd really like to build a community. And the way that I'm doing that is I've got a free mailing list that you can join. And when we record these episodes, they're going to be put out as live streams. So you'll get to see a little bit behind the scenes. You'll get to see the episodes before they go out on the main channel and on the podcast. And you'll get to interact with us as we're recording. So if that sounds like something you'd enjoy, head on over to the website, links in the description. And I look forward to chatting with you as we record future episodes.
But at that time, I was actually working in a job where I had to go into the office. And I thought, well, if I'm going to do this, it's got to be 100%. And I wasn't sure if I could be 100%. I was sure about the.
So this is pre-20. This is
after
before
COVID.
After COVID.
It was after COVID. So I did my job. I had a job to do bait and switch. I applied for a job. When I applied for it, they said it was completely remote. I had a 3-month notice period. So then when I got the job, I turned up at the office. I said, I didn't turn up. They said, you have to turn up to collect your laptop. They said, actually, it's 2 days a month that you had to go in. And then 6 months later, my manager had been lying to me. It was actually 2 days a week, but she knew that I was probably just going to leave the job if they told her. But then the CTO said, we have all these performance metrics, and we all we know that you've done really well on performance network metrics working remotely, but we don't think they're really valuable metrics. So I'm going to make everyone come into the office 3 days a week. And so they got my that was just before Christmas. They got my resignation straight away. But I was in that position when I was kind of in from the crash course. So It took about 6 months. In those 6 months, I got some building work done on my flat for the first time. And then...
So hang on, this is 6 months between
the crash course. So the crash course was when I came back from New Zealand. 6 months after that, I got building work done. But then my mum had a property in Ireland and had a tenant that hadn't been paying rent for about 5 years. Now, even in Ireland, if you manage it properly, that shouldn't happen.
No.
What you can get a lot of times in Ireland is they don't pay rent for a long time. You take them to court, and the day they go to court, they pay some rent. But it wasn't even like that. And it's basically because my mum's in the UK with me. So it was like hands off, not thinking about it, buried head in the sand. And I thought, I'm going to help her. So I actually went to Ireland. I thought I was going to go for 3 weeks. I actually was there for 3 months because I was kind of helping. My brother did some work on the house with builders come in, and I thought I was going to just finish off the end. But in the end, I was doing a lot more than that. And while I was out there, I got the email from the academy about the Discovery Day. And I thought, am I serious about property? Am I giving 100%? I'm in Ireland for 3 months. I'm literally here doing it. So I thought, I proved to myself that I've got the will, and because it's hard, and I was never under any illusion. You don't just sign up to do some training. And same with any business or anything you're doing. It's really hard. It takes commitment. It takes devotion. And if you're not going to give it 100%, if you think you can turn up to a crash course, learn the secret of financial freedom, and then become financial free, then no one gives it to you. It's not like school where there's an exam at the end, you don't for the exam, you get it. It's very different. It's very hard. So
it's also, I think everyone's route will be unique to them. And, obviously there's strategies that are all that you can learn, but at the end, but everyone's coming at those strategies from a different situation, in a different location, from a different financial background. So everyone's journey is going to be unique to them. But one of the ways to help is that community that meeting with like-minded people with a similar vision and a similar knowledge.
Yeah, and I
just
think
don't get in the real world.
That's why the evangelical church aspect of it is amazing and necessary and important, because people who go there believe, and it is hard. And I think, if you think about me and my career, my tech, my software, that was hard as well. But I loved it, and I did it, and I kept doing it, and got better and better and better. And nothing's hard if you love it and are doing it all the time. But I think that believing that it's possible is really important.
Yeah.
But
So yeah, it is because it is. You were saying how it's it felt a bit like a cult and things like that. And I think Sam was well aware of that. I did an interview with him recently, and I edited one of the short reels for it. And yeah, he actually, well, he was saying people will say it's a cult and stuff, and it's weird because it is a bit like that, but in a good way. I see it as a good thing,
yeah,
but because it's not any of the bad side of
yeah.
a cult.
But,
But it's like, in
yeah,
other words, what I'm talking about is the community.
yeah. I think
What's the difference between a cult and a community?
the
Well,
problem, yeah, that's it. It's a word thing. When
yeah,
people say the word cult, there's connotations and meanings, and so I think it's community. I think I joined, and the day after had a call with Tony, a mentor, and he put me in contact with someone in Ireland because I thought no one. I was
right.
in Dublin, so I thought no one would know anything about it. But no, there's a guy, and he was on the phone for me for an hour, and then he said, "Look, I'm on the beach now with my kids. Do you mind if I phone you tomorrow?" And I said, "Well, I kind of." It wasn't like trying to do business with me. He was trying to help me. He was giving me advice
Yeah,
and about how to set up social accommodation out there. And I thought, wow, he didn't need to do that. He's just another student on the academy. And that was the first of
right.
many,
Yeah,
many experiences. And that has made me try. And so kind of doing a deal source webinar because of my background. I'm doing lots of things in CRM. I know about CRM systems. I've recently found one that's really good that would work with people in the academy. And I'm really pleased, mainly because I can now give back a little bit. I can kind of help out and find it because I'm still on that part of the learning curve. So I'm still trying
yeah,
to get going. And there's so many people helping me, and I think that community, contributing to that community, and being able to be like business is win-win, and being in a community. People not inside it may call it a cult, but the thing is, it's very easy to join. You just go to you go to the crash course and you're welcomed in.
yeah. And
And
it's also very easy to leave. Like if you,
yeah,
unlike some cults where
oh yeah, yeah,
where they
yeah.
might.
That's they don't lock the doors when you're in.
No, no.
They,
I was worried. I was worried. I even said to Samuel, I was worried that when I went to a crash course, it's one of the reasons I maybe took so long to go. But I thought you hear about these like timeshare salesmen where they get you to an
yeah,
event and then they sort of lock the doors or chase you down the corridor and stuff. I thought there might be an element of that, but no, it wasn't like that
well,
at all.
this is something because it's all about lies and things, societal lies, things, misconceptions I had from youth. But one of the things that I found, I've just done Russell's course on sales,
Mm,
and I think my starting learning this was the crash course. And they do the sales techniques. They do the
yeah,
£10,000 reduce. They do the techniques. But when we were at the Discovery Day, Ricky was telling us about the sales funnel while we were going through the sales funnel. So they weren't trying to trick us.
no,
And what Russell says,
that's just a technique that works, and that so they use it.
yeah, yeah,
And
and
what would be a scam is if it wasn't actually backed up by an amazing product, which
um,
it is. The
no,
academy is an
that's
incredible.
important. The product's important. So believing your product is important.
Yeah,
But knowing your customer. So the reason why lots of people don't like sales is because you get a lot of mediocre salespeople who are not very good, who are trying to sell you something that you don't need or want, and they
yeah,
can use those techniques to make you think you need to want it, and it does work. It does do it. But one thing that I kind of came across on the course, and I've got this from contact with the academy in their sales process, but also on the course, is that a salesperson is trying to help you. So if I got you,
yes,
if I'm, you need something. So on the CRM systems, I know a lot about CRM systems. I know a lot of people in the academy are trying to network. They're trying to meet people, and they're getting these things. I don't know. Do you know what these things are?
post-it notes,
Yep. But there's
origamis,
sorry.
origamis.
Well, there's significance about these post-it notes. If you're in the academy, you'll know.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, you've got three of them, right? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And so, there's a mess of that. And because I'm in CRM, so I know how you have a sales pipeline, how you get your contacts, what you do with the post-its, how you systemize the process of getting, for deal sources, you want to meet investors, but you need to make building up the contacts. And it's not by just slamming them into your phone, because once you've met 10 people in a weekend, it's too much. So
yeah,
now that's where sales, and so
Right, so hold on a minute.
realised-
So we're gonna move into talking about your app now. That's what you're talking about. So let's just backtrack a little bit. So your app it's for deal sources.
Okay, so yes, so let's talk
So let's explain what deal sourcing is. Remember, not everyone listening to this will maybe.
So deal sourcing. So we talk about sales is helping people. So you have an agent. You go. Most people know what an estate agent is. You want to sell your house, go to the estate agent. You want to. So they market it for you, and they working on behalf of the seller, you, to get you the best price for your house. That's their job. That's how they earn their money and their commission. So this started in America, but it's kind of what what Samuel teaches, but Simon Zalewski. There's a whole set of
Simon Zucci,
which I believe was Samuel Leeds' mentor, and Rob.
Yeah.
They all teach the same thing, and it's all come from.
There's lots of people teaching.
They all credit each other. It's not like there's no secret. But they have a thing of deal sourcer. So deal sourcer acts for someone who is an investor or someone who wants to buy a property. So they're not trying to get the best price for a property. They're trying to get the best price for the investor, to get the best value, to make the best deal. Because I don't like the word deal sourcing. They're making a business and selling a business. And so they're finding a property, finding a straight. So a rundown property that, you know what, we get some builders, we can do up this property, you can flip it and sell it for more than it's worth. They are looking at from that side. So a deal sourcer is the opposite end to an agent. Agent acting on behalf of the seller.
Yeah.
Deal sourcer is acting on behalf of the buyer, but they're making it into a business. So it's not like I guess you can get like private deal sourcers. I guess if you really can't be bothered to search for a house, you could find someone to buy for you to live in. But generally, it's for investment properties.
Yes. So, and the reason that investors would do this is because maybe they're too busy they may have another job, and they want to invest some of their income, and they might want to invest in an area that's a long way away from them. So doing lots of viewings would be extremely time consuming. So finding someone in that area who can do those viewings for them is going to save them a lot of time. So basically, a deal sourcer saves time for an investor.
But you missed one thing. So we talk about sales is good. Sales is helping people. The deal sourcer's got expertise and knowledge and can probably do it better than the investor can. And so it's kind of like when you're selling, you go back to the economy and giving wealth to someone, generating wealth. The deal sourcer generates wealth by using their expertise and knowledge to find really good properties and knowing what works and what doesn't work. You know, saying a property that can never be a HMO. It's in the wrong area. You won't get knowing that's value, and so deal sourcers bring value to the table. So if you're a deal sourcer, so again, this is you're running a business, but what you're doing is there's two halves to the job. So one half is finding those properties, those deals that are going to be set up as businesses, and that's where a lot of knowledge in property is really important. The second half is finding investors, because in property, especially if you have a good deal tends to sell quickly because it's a good deal. And so it's very easy to buy a not very good deal in property because
no one else
go
wants
anywhere because they're all about. But the good deals, they will come and go quickly. So if you're a deal sourcer and you have got a good deal, you need an investor. You need someone. And as I learned as I was doing it, sometimes the investor, they've got their money in the stock market or a bond, and the bond matures like every month. And knowing when the investor has the money ready to buy is really important, because you might just have a week for them to secure it, because otherwise someone else is going to get, because you've used your skill to find a good deal. So the second half of the deal sourcer's job is meeting investors, managing investors, having a list of investors, and then having a reputation and an image so that investors can trust them, and building up trust. Now, I was talking before about CRM systems, which I was helping investors with that second part of the job. But the app that I'm building is actually the first half, so the finding the properties. Now, the thing about it is, I said it's hard because some people, I don't know, some people might go to the crash course. Oh, it's really easy. You can just become a deal sourcer. You can sell three deals a week.
It's not as easy as some people make it sound.
It's not easy. It's hard and it takes work.
And it does take specific skills. You need to be good at networking.
Yeah. For the so I'm just talking now about the property finding side rather than the property finding side. I guess even property finding, networking does help. But
absolutely, because you need, it really depends on your network with the estate agents and
it depends. So anyway, my app is about finding the good deals. And the first thing you've got to do is look at a lot of properties, and actually you've got to go and view them. I think Samuel said 10 a week, and you've got to, when you can't just rock up and view any property, you've got to select the properties you view in the first place. And when you go to the viewing, you've got to have an idea in mind as to what it's good for, and you've got to generally you'll be prepared with a list of things that you need to know about the property. You might be, it's got to be a HMO, so I need to make sure the room sizes are right. I need to know which walls can be moved. There's a whole set of things that you need to do, but you can't just do this one time a week. That's kind of amateur. You might get lucky. You might find a good deal and sell it, but if you're doing one a week, you're getting lucky. So you need to do 10 a week. So my app is called Property Pipeline Builder because you're building a pipeline and a process. And what it basically systemizes from finding it, however you find it, which could be online using things like Rightmove, could be from companies like Deal Sourcer, it could be from a house you walk past and drop a letter. There's many different ways, but you put all these properties into the top of your pipeline. And what you have to do at first is find the showstoppers as quickly as possible. And the reason is time is money. And, you didn't get into deal sourcing to spend lots of time. You actually want to spend time on the right deals to get them really good deals for your investors. So you need to find the show. Well, I've got my terminology corrected. In my work, we call this a showstopper, but someone corrected me the other week. A showstopper is actually something that's so amazing they stop the show. I meant a deal breaker. So you need to find a deal breaker early. And the reason you need to find it early is if you spend 2 hours with a spreadsheet browsing around the area, finding all the facts about this property, but it's got a deal breaker in it.
Yes.
Then all those 2 hours are wasted.
Yeah.
But if you find the deal breaker first, then you spend those 2 hours on the next property or a different property.
So prioritizing what information you figure out. The order in which you figure out information is really important because you don't want to spend loads of time doing loads of due diligence and then find out that one of the rooms isn't big enough to make it an HMO.
So what my app will do is let's give you a place to put all your properties. So first of all, organised and just filed so that you
what was the name of it again? Property Pipeline
Builder.
Builder.
If you go to evernetproperties.com, I've got an early access program. It's only open to Samuel Leeds Academy members at the moment. I'll talk about why later on. But what you need to do is you need to look at a lot of these and need to be organised. So first of it organises it. The second thing, it will walk you through the calculations that you need to do, but also at what stage you do the calculation. So it's got a pipeline. So the first stage is a lead. So a lead is, I've just seen the property, walk past it, that looks good. Then you do some basic calculation. That could be a HMO, it could be 5-bed, and it might be worth this amount of money. And that takes you like 10 minutes. Very quickly, what's the vision? Then it says, now you found the agent, but the viewing. Then, and this is, I'm just regurgitating what Samuel has said in the process. Then once you've talked to the agent might say, we sold that last week. So, okay, move on to the next one. You've just saved yourself a load of time. But then what you do is
So it prioritizes all the jobs you need to do in your due diligence. Yeah.
And it goes through it. And I find I built it because I was looking at lots and lots of properties. So I did this. And I had lots of spreadsheets that I was making, and I kept forgetting something on some spreadsheets. So I wanted to systemize it. I'm a coder. I've got technology behind me. I very easily put together something that was useful, and I thought other people would find it useful. So I did it as a web app, which could run on your phone. So because I'm in that position and I'm using it, what I've done is I've put together an early access program so that people on the academy can use it. And what I'm doing with the program is getting feedback because, at the moment it looks at properties that I want because that's what I've been looking for, but there's lots of other strategies. And one of the things I really like about business is about providing value to people. And, time is valuable. So if someone spends an hour using my app, then they will only do that if I give them value. And so what I need to do is make sure that I generate as much value as possible. And so that's the whole point of the early access program. I want people to look at it. I want, even if you try it and then it's like, oh, you know what, it's useless. Then send me an email, tell me it's useless. That really helps, because
I have spoken to someone who's used it and they said it's really, really good. Paul Hodge.
Paul Hodge, yeah,
I think.
Yeah, that's
he
really.
said it.
So I've got the people in the early access program. Like you'll give me a number, so that, and we're going to try and have some calls and to get that feedback of what's good, what's not good, how can I improve it? Because this is what I love about software development. We get feedback, we then put that feedback back into the product, we then get more feedback. We go through this cycle. What we've got gets better and better and better. Some other organisations do things like they offshore, and if it's not an important thing, like your CAMPS program, and you just get a software company in India to develop it for you, great. But you don't have this constant feedback. And I've got so many ideas of what I can do with it, which will be valuable. But which ones will be valuable, the early access program is going to tell me that. So they're going to say, because I've got this idea, when you're doing a viewing, you could have an app where you're going through and typing stuff straight into that. How valuable is that? Well, that's it's a nice technical challenge, which I'd love to do. But what's really important is what people can use it for and how much value that it can be. So I've opened up just to Samuel Leeds, just to make it small. I don't, it's not like a chargeable product that I'm going to sell to like lots of people at the moment. But we'll get value into the system, and then I'm planning for it to always be free for Samuel Leeds Academy members. And the reason for that is with that business, I have other ideas of, this is just the first step of quite an extensive plan, actually. I don't know if do you know Tarek from the Academy?
Tarek.
You probably do.
Tarek.
I think we've talked with him together, probably on one of the Thursdays. But,
maybe I just didn't catch his name.
Yeah, I'm working on him to kind of maybe partner a little bit. But I'm looking at. I've got a plan and a future, but I think I wouldn't have started the early access program if it wasn't useful already for people, because time is really valuable, and I think already it saves me time in what I'm doing, and so I'm hoping to iterate on that and get better. And I don't know if you've ever been involved in software.
Not really, but I'll tell you something that came to mind as you were explaining that. With this podcast, I've got lots of different jobs that I need to do for each episode. So I record the hour and a half episode, then I chop that up into 5-10 minute clips which go on YouTube. Also, I make a blog post based on each one of those 5-10 minute clips, and then I make the reels, the 1 minute clips. They go on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and LinkedIn. And I should probably start doing X as well. So there's a lot of different jobs, and writing all the descriptions. Some of the descriptions can have links, some of them can't, and just keeping track of all that and doing that. If I was to do a few reels, like let's say I did 3 reels and put them out on all the platforms, and then did another 3. That's an extremely inefficient way of doing it. The best way is to do all the reels, put them all on Facebook, all on LinkedIn, all on in one go. So I only go to TikTok once a week. So I've got a spreadsheet that keeps track of all that and tells me what job to do next in order to not waste time going backwards and forwards on different platforms. And I suppose what you're talking about is something similar, but for deal sources.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I recommend if you know something called Trello.
Yes.
Which I don't know if you use that, but that can beat a spreadsheet. But from what you're saying, I think it's a very exciting time. I think it's an exciting time to be a deal sourcer, because I do know about other similar apps to what I'm building around. And I think if you're running deal sourcer, you should be using these. You should be checking them out, because I think there's some value. But I think it's also an exciting time to be a podcaster, because it's not what I'm looking at the moment, but there's so much AI. And I have heard a sales pitch of all of that being done automatically. And this is where, and I guess the job of any software engineer is to make themselves redundant. And there's so many people working in IT that do not understand this. You're not there to make work. You're there to make work disappear. We have to make ourselves redundant. And there's lots of people who kind of, they like to type lots of commands in and have this, this sequence and passwords, and it's like, no, you've got to automate and systemize and make things. And actually, how I've been moving through my career and getting, progressing, is by making myself redundant, because if you're not redundant, you can't be promoted. But
And the more you can systemize, the more you can scale your
yeah,
impact and your
but
value.
I find that exciting and not scary. AI is not scary. AI is exciting because my marketing stuff that I put on my website, I write it myself. I put it into AI, and then I tweak what comes out of AI. And with making the shorts, I do hate the AI voice that they use in TikTok. Don't use.
I hate that.
Pay and get a different. But it can chop up.
I don't use the AI voice.
No.
I mean, in fact, I don't. Yeah, I mean, I use AI as a starting point, like you say, and then you tweak the output.
I think be cautious. Use it, but look at the result yourself and decide. Which is what I do with the marketing stuff, because I remember my app. I wrote my ad for the early access program, and I thought put it into ChatGPT marketing. I did it, and it came back with 2 versions actually. I was reading one. I thought, I really want this app. And I thought, it's describing my app. So what you said about Samuel Leeds and sales techniques and selling. And selling is such an important skill, which all my life I thought of, I don't like salespeople. They're not. But actually selling, you do all the time. And the most effective human beings are the ones that are good at selling. And it's not a bad thing. It's helping people.
No.
And getting ChatGPT.
That is what sales is. Helping people. Like you said, if you're trying to sell something that someone doesn't need, that isn't valuable to them, then that's not sales, that's conning them.
Reading through this ChatGPT description of something I built, and I got excited. And it's like, I wouldn't explain it that way, but I really need to.
So let's just quickly to summarize before we finish up. So you're developing Property Pipeline Builder. You're making it free for now for Academy members, or only for Academy members in the sort of beta version.
Yeah, I think it will be always free for Academy members, because
amazing.
One of the key things is I want to give value back, and I think always, because I don't want to say I'll use this, I'm going to charge for it in the future, and I'm not going to do that. But no, it will always be free for Academy members. Now that's for individuals. Whether if you've got a deal sourcing team and there's 5 people to get access, I'm going to have to develop enterprise kind of features for that. And that version might be chargeable. But I think for an individual who's just joined the academy who wants to use it, then I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
Not.
So for people who are on the academy, where can they find it?
So if you go to evernetproperties.com, right on the homepage.
Evernet.
EVERNET. But no, evernetproperties.com. If you scroll down, it tells you about the early access program, gives you some basic stuff about it. You just need to sign up with you've got a Google account, just sign in like lots of websites, and then have a play. I've got some tutorial videos there. There's 2 at the moment, but I'm working on doing more to show you how to use it. And when you sign up, I'm going to probably invite you to a webinar where we'll have a bit like this. We'll have a conversation and show you a little bit about it, and then we can have. I'm hoping to get feedback for people. So I've met people in the academy who run a lot of HMOs who I've kind of looked specifically targeted them and say, look, can you look at my app and the calculations it does, and tell me if they would help you. So I'm very, very keen to get many people to try it out as possible. So hopefully that is.
Okay, so that's for Academy members. If you're not on the Academy, or you haven't been to any of Samuel Lee's events, I would really recommend going to a crash course, as I kind of do on every episode. It only costs £1, so it's valuable. And like I said, you might even get a free book worth £10. So it's worth it for everyone. And there's no pressure to go any further. If you're just curious about what it's all about, and or even if you just want to see someone who's really good at public speaking do their thing for a few hours, I would recommend going along. There's a link in the description, as always. But yeah, I think we'll leave it there. Thank you so much for coming on, Robert. It's been great. I look forward to checking out your app myself.
Thank you very much. It's the first podcast I've been on. Hopefully I wasn't too boring and didn't take on. You could tell I do tangents. Hopefully there wasn't too many tangents. But no, thank you for having me, and thank you for the audience who are still watching. Hopefully listening to us has been valuable to you.
Yeah, I'm sure it has. So, thank you for watching. We'll see you next time. Okay, well, if you are still watching, thank you for watching, and I hope you've enjoyed the show. Obviously, if you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe and give us a thumbs up and leave us a comment. If you're listening to the podcast, make sure you're subscribed on whatever platform you're on. Leave us a review as well. All that stuff really helps. But the main thing is, head on over to our website, self-unemployed.co.uk, and there you'll be able to enter your email address. And once you've done that, you'll get invited to join us when we are recording future episodes. They're going to go out as live streams on YouTube, but not to the public, only to people who are on that mailing list. So if you do that, you'll be able to interact with us, ask questions as we're recording future episodes. I'll see you next time.